Kachin people are from Myanmar, China, and India. Myanmar, also known as Burma, is one of the Southeast Asian countries. A majority of the Kachins live in Myanmar, and the Kachin land is the heritage of Kachin people, which includes the mountainous areas of northern Myanmar, starting from Katha of Sakang Division, northwestern part of Shan State, western Yunnan of China, some eastern parts of Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh of India. The Kachin land was partitioned into three parts to be ruled by the Burmese, the Chinese, and Indians respectively, when the international boundaries was drawn. The Kachins are originally from Mongolia and Tibet, and their heritage, the Kachin land, is very large, that it is almost 2 times larger than the size of Portugal. In Myanmar, there are 7 major ethnics which are comprised of more than 135 officially recognized ethnic groups, which are linguistically, culturally, and traditionally different from one another. The Kachins didn't have any foreign rulers. They had a nation of their own, ruled by their duwas. But the land of Kachins was under British rule when Lower Burma and Central Burma was colonized. The land of Kachins became a part of the country called the British Burma at that time. Kachin State is rich in natural resources, jade, teak, timbers, gold and amber, and many other resources. The word Kachins or Kachin is, or can be said, that it is the Burmanized word, derived from the Jingpo word Gaken, which means red soil, which makes no sense in any Kachin ethnic group's languages. The Chinese call them wild men, the Shans call them mountain dwellers, but earlier Kachins called themselves as Jingpos. The population of Kachins is still unknown and not exact. According to the Britannica.com, the population of Kachins in Myanmar is only 590,000, and in Wikipedia it says 1 million to 1.5 million. Myanmar government cannot finalize the data collection of the population census so far. Until now, there are a lot of Kachins living in the hills who are not registered as citizens of Myanmar. The modern-day Kachin includes the 6 major tribes: Jingpo, Lisu, Rawang, Zaiwa, Lachit, and Longwa. Kachins used to worship spirits of their forefathers, but now majority of them are Christians, especially more than 90% of the Kachins in Myanmar are Christians. Jingpo is the majority of the Kachin population, and it is also the common language for all the Kachins. Since the word Jingpo itself means human, the Kachins call themselves as Jingpo in earlier days. Anthropologists note that the Kachins are well known for several skills or attributes. They are very disciplined fighters, have impressive knowledge of key skills, such as jungle survival and herbal healing, using local plant materials. On the peaceful side of things, the Kachins are also famous for the very intricate relations among the different clans and tribes within the ethnic group, and also for their skills as craftspersons and artisans. Why is there the conflict, the civil war? How did it start? When the British colonizers negotiated independence for Burma in the mid-20th century, the Kachins didn't have representatives at the table. When Burma achieved its independence in 1948, the Kachin people got their own state, along with assurances they would be allowed significant regional autonomy. However, the central government proved to be more interventionist than it had promised. The government meddled in Kachin affairs while also depriving the region of development funds and leaving it dependent on raw materials production for its major income. Fed up with the way things were shaken out, militant Kachin leaders formed the Kachin Independence Army KIA in the early 1960s and started a guerrilla war against the government. Doesn't Kachin's land belong to the Burmese? The answer is no. Then why became the Union of Burma? The kingdom of the Burmese kings was very limited. They could not rule the whole of Kachin state, Wa state, Karenni state, and the others. They just ruled central Burma. So the British conquered all these places because they wanted to make a fence for the Indian subcontinent. During the resistance to British advances in 1886, the Kachins didn't find any Burmese commanders resisting. But all the Kachin rulers resisted the occupation at that time. The Burmese throne in the hands of King Thibaw had been withdrawn in 1885, so the British thought that they had automatically won Kachin state. But as soon as they arrived, the Kachin chiefs resisted the British, and finally the British learned that the Kachins were not the property of the Burmese king. So, the feeling of the Kachin people today is that joining the union is a voluntary association. Shan, Kachin and other ethnic minorities had their own history, their own home, their own land, their own native language before colonial rule. And then, at the time of the British government, the British organized all these ethnic minorities in the land of Kachins and made British Burma. During the World War II, the Kachins fought alongside the British while the Burmese spent most of the conflict alongside the Japanese under the leadership of General Aung San. How did this affect relations between the Kachins and the Burmese? The Kachins and the Chins peoples were sympathizers of the Allied forces, so Aung San and his Burmese Independence Army (BIA) came up during Japanese rule and killed many Kachin peoples because they accused them of being the stooges of foreign imperialism. There are many records of this. They used Japanese guns everywhere. Until 1994, the BIA came to villages and made trouble for the Kachin people. It's a funny thing to say that the BIA liberated Burma from Japanese occupation. The Allied forces and the Kachin, the northern Kachin ranges, expelled all the Japanese in conjunction with some hill peoples. The Kachin Rangers celebrated Panam Manor festivities after the victory in Bamor on March 24 to 26 in 1945, and Aung San started the anti-Japanese movement in Rangoon the day after on March 27, so they were only involved for 2 or 3 months. Because of the victory against Japanese occupation, the Kachin people were the main race to talk about political matters because they had the upper hand in their land. There were no Burmese troops there at the time, only Kachin troops. At the victory manor, the Kachin leaders invited Aung San and his anti-fascist people. They came up and met with the Kachins, and then both parties agreed to join for the independence. How is the result of the civil war? How is the Burmese soldiers or the government's treatment to the Kachins, or the military government's cruelty? Is it really Burmanization? More than 100,000 IDPs are produced. There's no support or almost no support from the government to help these vulnerable people. Even a lot of NGOs, INGOs, humanitarian aid are blocked by the government or the military government sent to these conflict zones. Government is reluctant to save the trapped refugees and even ban the other villages from saving those trapped refugees. There are a lot of records of rape, murder, atrocities done by the Burmese army. But the current NLD government and military government do not allow the world to check and see if it is true or not. The names of the governments were changed, but the ruling power stayed the same in the Burmese hands. No matter the military nor the civilian government, ethnic cleansing never ends. Even though you don't agree that it is Burmanization, we can't deny it is a slow genocide.